I think the most important part is that when Shahid moved to the US, when he finally moved to America in 1975, he realized that a poet who he had grown up with, Faiz Ahmad Faiz, was completely absent from their landscape. Like no one knew about Faiz Ahmad Faiz there, and so he got to translating Faiz's verses for the Western audience. I think during that entire process, I think Shahid realized a lot of things about the English language.
So let me wade in a little in terms of this question of what you discovered about his poetry. I like very much your account of Shahid as a poet whose chosen language, English, was informed by his multilingualism, by the fact that he was at home in Urdu, in Kashmiri, that he worked in translation, and that precisely was a key literary and experiential practice for him, translation. And you place him, for instance, in the context of Paul Celan or James Merrill. Merrill famously translated from French, Italian, and Greek. Celan from English and French. And for all these poets, Celan, Merrill, Shahid, there was a way in which being at home in another language or exploring another language allowed them to return to their own in a richly renewed way. So could you talk a little bit about this and the consequences it had for what he used to call Biryanization?
Right.
How did he bring this? Rushdie calls it chutnification. Right. Shahid used to call it Biryanization.
Yeah. No, I really think, Shahid belongs to that lineage of poets, and even Mervyn as well. And Shahid at once, famously said that Mervyn had become Mervynist by translating. And I think in a lot of ways that is true for Shahid as well. Growing up, English was the language that he chose to write in. It was language that he believed it was his, and he had no, reservations about it. He really didn't. But I think the most important part is that when Shahid moved to the US, when he finally moved to America in 1975, he realized that a poet who he had grown up with, Faiz Ahmad Faiz, was completely absent from their landscape. Like no one knew about Faiz Ahmad Faiz there, and so he got to translating Faiz's verses for the Western audience. I think during that entire process, I think Shahid realized a lot of things about the English language. Or maybe that's the phase he started talking about it and writing about it. There's this wonderful essay by Shahid. I think it was one of the papers that he submitted for his PhD at Penn State, where he talks about Indian English literature, and he really wanted to push the limit.
If you've enjoyed the conversation that you just heard, do subscribe to our channel for much more.